Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your mayor of Abbotsford, and the first thing we're going to do is bring the RCMP in Abbotsford on the organized crime and the criminal racketeering that was done in our city, but was done under the name of the Abbotsford Police, a buddy-buddy system. Men and women that worked there, that exploited that office to help Henry Brown and cover up criminal organization on our community. This is what should have been leading the investigation on the front of the newspaper into Abbotsford, into Henry Brown's hit and run. Before I begin today's podcast, I'd like to give you a little update here in Abbotsford. Brad Vis went to Ottawa and he went begging about that flood money, that infrastructure money, and everything he could beg upon for the federal government to get that money from Carney for Henry Brown about that infrastructure and that flood. Belly aching and belly aching. Look at, he couldn't even hold a straight face. Belly aching and belly aching. Standing all alone. You could see him, and Suk Mangel ain't with him. You could see Bruce Banman. You could see the BC Conservatives. You could see that. Because it was his money is to fill Henry Brown's pockets. Henry Brown has to face the criminal charges and go to court and jail for his hit and run in buying city officials. Henry believed that he was so powerful and so rich that he could pay Abbotsford police off. Till Darren Braun, his son, showed how his dad was exploiting the city, taking advantage of the city, had his brother, which is Darren's uncle, lifting lands, warding decisions, but Henry convinced everybody. The most of Abbotsford was convinced. As long as city councils were there, they were supposed to hold Henry accountable. Transparency. Till Darren Brown showed the majority of city councils and Dave Lowens, Henry's lackey, were working side by side like a gang, all together to fraud Abbotsford taxpayers, and there was no accountability. Henry was making them sign non-disclosures to silence their mouth. That there I'm going to open, and I showed you on the sports center where the Abbotsford Canucks are, we're going to open it all. There ain't going to be no non-disclosures. We're going to open it. We're going to go after the city managers, and we're going to go after the city officials and the lawyers that were involved in that on Abbotsford taxpayers. Henry stood to gain millions of dollars. He put the official business plan into effect. Then he knew to rig and block the election, which Pierre Polly had said, you can't block an election like Henry Brown did. That is just ludicrous. That means he had to stand to gain. Yes, Pierre, he stood to gain. He needed Ross Siemens in to keep the official community plan going for Ron Funk in the millions of dollars of land. But he used the Abbotsford police that went under a shield saying we're police officers and we're investigators, but we'll cover for Henry because we're Henry's lackeys. When Brad Vis went into Ottawa to lobby for this money for this city, I want to give this punk Brad Vis a lesson in politics because Ed Fast is not coaching you enough from behind the doors. So listen up, you little punk. When you dress the federal government in the way, instead of a beggar, you're a beggar. You can see you're taking messages from Ed Fast to Ottawa that's not working and you're failing. So I want to call you out on it, Brad, being a conservative. You're humiliating my party, you're humiliating the Conservatives, and you're humiliating yourself doing the work as a lackey for Ed Fast. It's the federal government's business. It's the federal government, not the city of Abbotsford, to do the infrastructure on the road and the dikes. Abbotsford City has nothing to do with it, the mayor. Henry was lobbying that to get that money, all this money, to fill his boots. We could get the contract. So let me tell you why, Brad, to all Abbotsford residents, and the Liberals are probably going to laugh this one up. The road, the Trans-Canada Highway through the Fraser Valley, carries trillions and trillions of billions of dollars a year from Vancouver to Quebec on that highway for every city to grow. And you can see it from province to province to province. It's the federal government's interest, not Abbotsford's, not Chilliwack's, not Hope, not Langley, not Mission. It's their interest and their economic driver to keep that highway, the infrastructures and bridge and the dikes protected. So it'd be best to take the message, you belly-aching little slob, you little whining little brat, and take the message and say, this here is why I'm begging to fill Henry Brown's boots. Can't you see that? Instead of saying, Mr. Speaker, when is Mark Carney going to sit down and address all Canadians that he'll look after the highways and the dikes and bridges, not just through Abbotsford, but through all of Canada? Then maybe Carney might open his eyes and ears, because it's worth millions of dollars. But you're belly aching every day about this infrastructure money so Henry could get it to fill his boots has got to stop, Brad. Now get into politics, Brad. You want to sit with me and I'll write you a speech of what makes you shine in Ottawa and what you need to ask. Today I'm here in Abbotsford. And another thing, Brad, stop interfering in Abbotsford, stay in Mission and help Paul Horn. Today I'm in Abbotsford. And I'm Abbotsford's Rec Centre. Abbotsford's Rec Centre, Community Centre, is long overdue. It's about 30 years out of date. It's an endangerment to Abbotsford, a long time endangerment. Abbotsford taxpayers have about $500 million in the coffers and your taxes weren't going down. When I come in as mayor, this is going to be a brand new building out of that coffer's money. I'm going to take that coffer's money that Henry Brown was telling Ross, we need to keep it, Ross. We need to keep that. And we need to match them funds against that money that Brad Vis is lobbying out of Ottawa, Brad. And Brad will get that money out of Ottawa, and then we got matching funds, and we can build that dike. That was Henry Brown. You could see it, matching funds, and then I still got a little back door through Pam to get some money. Henry's got himself facing criminal charges because I'm going to push till I get the day in court on his attempted murder and his threats. And that day is coming for every Canadian. I am going to go down that road. So it'd be best for Brad Vis to say to Henry, listen, Henry, I suggest you empty your whole house now, you start packing up, and you flee to Paraguay, because that's the only chance you got, because this ain't going away, and it's pulling everybody down. So out of that $500 million in city's coffers, I'm going to take $100 million out, not costing you anything, out of that city's money, and I'm going to build you a brand new community center. New park, new water, you'll have new slides, you'll have all brought up, you'll have an ice skating rink, you'll have a better gym, and it'll be suitable for seniors and all the people, maybe Mrs. Braun, because she's not walking good, and Dave Lowens, not walking very good. They look real bad right now. And we're going to do that. That's long overdue. But let me explain what we're going to do. Not inflating your taxes at all, because we're going to take that money that Henry was banking on to get Brad to get them matching dollars, and we're going to take it. This should have been first over the 71 million when he was trying to build his army for the Abbotsford Police. Oh, get out there, Chief. Gangs, 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 gangs. Would have been better for me to bring 300 seniors here and say, no, the doctor's saying I need to swim for my exercise. I got shoulders and back and water's good. Nope. He had Mike Sear, gangs, 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 and organized crime, and gangs and shootings, and I need more cop cars. Frauding to 71 million. Frauding. But what we're going to do is send this job to tendering as the city. We're going to get quotes, we're going to get bids, and there won't be any non-disclosure signed. It'll be all up in front of the public. You're going to get a new facility, and this ain't the only facility you're going to get. You're going to get these facilities redone, brought up to code, and lasting maybe 30 to 40 years to accommodate Abbotsford's growing seniors and Abbotsford's, and we know that this is long overdue. And we got to make it that these community centers now are more South Asian friendly, and they become more South Asian friendly on these community centers. And this is what we're going to do as Abbotsford. And we're going to make sure that these new facilities are up and running. We're going to empty and look at that money that Henry was telling Ross, we got to keep it all, Ross, we got to keep it. But we're going to first bring the RCMP into Abbotsford. We're going to get rid of all Abbotsford's upper police department of what was involved in covering Henry's attempted murder, covering the threats on Councillor Mogill as the task force, using them. Who held the investigations off on the 911? Who held the investigations off on Henry so he could finish his term? Who ordered the task force to circle Mogil? And who ordered the task force through the whole election and at my house and on my job site on me? Now, them men and women that work upstairs figure that uniform's going to protect them. Let me explain something. That uniform never protected him. It was Henry Braun, and Braun alone, through his political players and his money, and the money that Keelan Olenoff said Henry has millions of dollars up in his safe. That's why he went there. That was payoff money for muscle. We know that now, because that's why Olenoff said drop the videos and the lawsuit or I will personally bury you. And the Safety Standards Act didn't investigate it. The difference here in Abbotsford versus other communities, the other communities are not collaborating and working together. They call each other out. And they're up in front and center. Henry owned the whole town, and you could see it with his friends, from the MLA to the MP. He made it going to be impossible for anybody to prove, and you can look now as you see Brad Vis's article, you can see other articles. The Abbotsford News is dropping Vicky Hopes off the major news articles because of the way I tacked her. If we get rid of Vicky Hopes, this is the first thing when somebody's in trouble or something's in trouble, we're going to get rid of it. Henry, let's get rid of Mike Sure. Then we'll bring old Watts in and Watts will clean that. And then we'll dump it and then he can keep the back players. No. We're going to take the company down. Whether it's going to be removed by the RCMP now with everything that's on social media, and they got probably big investigations inside there because nobody could stand on social media like Mark Workentine said, this stuff's all over there. Mark, you were a part of Abbotsford's first when you were in England and they were cheating and they were threatening sex allegations on candidates and everything else. This was to grow the city and control it. You know Ron Funkadiverse and you know everything. But we're going to go in and we're going to fix this. And we're going to make sure that Henry Brown has no contractors, no back doors, nothing to get any of this money that's in the city. We're going to push Henry down before the Supreme Court and show that nobody's above the law. Nobody can use the law and no one can bend it. And no one thought at the end, they thought at the beginning. The Abbotsford police were in high elite organized crime. And you could see that with what I've offered Abbotsford and showed you could cut your taxes and lower your taxes and bring everything. I believe George Ferguson, if he was alive today, would say, Mr. Pelican is your only mayor for Abbotsford. To give you all these benefits, to cut your taxes, to hold the city accountable, to give you back your city, to give you back transparency, and open everything up for criminal investigations and bring the RCMP in. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm live here, Abbotsford, British Columbia. I would please like you, if you can, this weekend, to tell Brad Vis to stop this stuff about the flood victims and send him an email and tell him to stop it. Unless you're going to stand in Ottawa and say, Henry Brown sent me, I need to beg. Henry's got the developers and the contractors. He needs the flood money. He needs the dike money. And he's got the gravel pits and everything lined up and it's worth millions of dollars. He's got the Abbotsford police threatening so he can keep Ross in there so he can get all these contracts. He's probably got them all warded. And Henry's probably pushing Brad because he told these guys to go out and buy equipment, get lined up. We got it. Till I came along with the information from Darren Blunt. But to Brad Vis, Brad, it is the federal government's business to keep my road in the Trans-Canada so we can move freight and cargo in this great city, this great country we live in, trade across the provinces, and that's what you should be arguing. It's the federal government's responsibility for these major infrastructures as these cities grow to keep the infrastructures and cargo and everything going. If the federal government ain't going to do it, then Abbotsford and all municipalities should start putting blocks and tolls on the road to fix it. Imagine you can't get through unless you pay $600 a toll to get through. Oh, that Henry would like that. Right on the Vetter Bridge. He would put a toll there, a $600 toll for every vehicle going up the interior to take vegetables and fruits. This is what needs to be done. This belly aching of using the farmers is a pathetic excuse, Bad. The front and center out of your mouth, which when I come in the mayor, is going to be the farmers. The farmers. The front and center is going to be Archway Community Services that raise the money, and you should be asking the federal government, when are you going to open criminal charges and bring Rob San Diego in under criminal charges. Because we know for a fact, Abbotsford residents know for a fact, that Henry Brown's got no say over the federal government MPs in Ottawa. Not a one. We know he screwed the shit up with Ed Fast really bad, and we know Henry Braun's run to get Mike de Jong in was a desperate move to get that money, because Mike could argue better than Brad Vis, and you could see that Brad Vis is already failing. And maybe Mike should have run in Brad Vis's position instead of against Suk Mangel. So ladies and gentlemen, to Abbotsford residents, to your seniors, this is what I'm going to do as your mayor. The first thing we're going to do for Abbotsford residents, and we're not going to up your taxes, we're going to lower your taxes. We're going to get somebody in here like Ledcor, somebody that can be built this, get this up, and we're going to make it suitable for seniors, the South Asians. We're going to build a nice facility, and we're going to make that, and we're going to make sure Abbotsford's taxes are going to work for your pleasures and your leisures in Abbotsford's. Not a dirty police building. Not this police building that went after youth and racist acts and everything. That white collar crime's got to go. And we got to bring the best in. And that there is the RCMP. And we're going to get the RCMP in here. We know we are. We can feel it. And we're going to drive forward stronger and harder to get the RCMP to take over Abbotsford. I'm live. Abbotsford, British Columbia here at the rec center.